The new cabinet of the NDA government has been sworn in and it's making an assertion of continuity. But in the meantime, it is Mohan Bhagwat's speech that is making all the headlines. Does the speech of the RSS chief contain a message for the Prime Minister? I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. For those who were expecting dramatic differences in the new cabinet of the NDA government, Modi 3.0 as it's being called, well, there wasn't much drama at all. In fact, the BJP kept all of the key ministries with itself. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, the new inductee, has one of the toughest portfolios with agriculture. JP Nadda, now in the government, leaves the space open for a new BJP president. Remember, it was Mr. Nadda who first spoke about the BJP having moved on beyond the RSS. Amit Shah, as we know, is back as Home Minister, remaining the second most powerful person in government. But as I mentioned, it's a speech by RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat that is raising eyebrows. In his speech, Mohan Bhagwat has spoken about the need for consensus, the need for dignity, the need for maryada. Maryada that he says was lost in this election campaign. Although his message was for all parties, political pundits are reading into this a message from the RSS to the BJP. Will things be different this time around, given that Narendra Modi has fallen below the majority? Looking at the cabinet formation, Modi seems to be saying, I'm still the person in control. But then how do we read the RSS chief's speech? Joining us now is veteran journalist and author Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay. He's also the biographer of a book on the Prime Minister and has spent a large part of his professional life studying the BJP and the RSS. Let me welcome Mr. Mukhopadhyay to the program. Before I get to the speech made by Mohan Bhagwat, the cabinet itself, right, for anybody expecting major changes, larger roles for a Nitin Gadkari, Amit Shah, there was even speculation he might be out as Home Minister. None of that happened. Mr. Modi seemed to be sending a message that if you think falling below the majority is going to change anything, it isn't going to change anything immediately. How did you read or how did you see the cabinet?
Well, yes, exactly as the way you are saying it. The message, central message is that Mr. Modi remains as authoritative as he was. His team remains the same, what it was earlier. The new people who have joined the ministry have been given ministries which are according to their abilities, their background, some professional association with that particular sector. More importantly, it sends a message that the coalition partners are numerically represented depending on the number of total co-allies that are there in the NDA now, which is 53. So by and large, every political party, every alliance partner has got the same type of, same number of ministers which are there as per the number in parliament. Portfolio-wise, the BJP has taken the most important
cabinet meeting.
portfolios. So that is there. So by and large, the message is that this is still de facto Modi government, but they might call it NDA government. But essentially, it is a Modi government at work. That is the message being sent, that the temporary setback with the result is now past him, and that now he is looking beyond what happened on the day of the verdict, and that let's concentrate on 100 days. What is going to happen? The government propaganda machinery has already started rolling out decision 1, decision 2, decision 3, and so on. And that's the way it is going to go on till the 100 days at least.
We'll come to the some of the individual portfolios, but the one I was particularly struck by was the one to Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Now, the reason to look at Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Nilanjan, is he's the BJP leader who won by the maximum. The victory margin of his victory margin was the largest. But his portfolios are also well, they're important, but they're also the most challenging. When he's handed agriculture, when he's handed, sectors that at this point where rural distress has played a part in pulling the BJP below the majority. How did you see that appointment?
Well, I think he's been given a very challenging ministry, and the point is that you perform and actually, establish yourself as somebody who is really working for this government. The previous estrangement which was there between Mr. Chauhan and Mr. Modi, and which may have got accentuated by the fact that he was not continued as the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh last year, that has been given. So now the message to Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan is that this is a very important job which you have. If you are really committed to this government, then you prove your worth.
Okay, so a lot to talk about both in the cabinet and outside the cabinet. And let me start actually with the speech that's actually made headlines in the last 24 hours. We have a very interesting speech coming from Mohan Bhagwat. And Mohan Bhagwat talks about, he uses words like maryada, he urges, against arrogance. He says, jo true swayam sevak hai, wo kabhi arrogant ho hi nahi sakta. He says opposition members are they're not opponents. They're not, you compete against them. They're competitors, but they're not enemies. Now, this is very interesting timing because it's his first comments after the verdict. And I want to start by playing a clip where he talks about how he believes the dignity and decorum of politics was lost in this campaign. Take a look.
वास्तव में संसद क्यों है और उसमें दो पक्ष क्यों है? इसलिए है कि दोनों पहलू उजागर हो। किसी भी सिक्के के दो पहलू रहते हैं, ऐसे किसी भी प्रश्न के दो पहलू रहते हैं। एक पक्ष एक पहलू का विचार करता है तो दूसरे पक्ष ने दूसरा पहलू उजागर करना है ताकि जो होना है वो पूर्णतः ठीक हो, सहमति बने। इसलिए संसद बनती है, लेकिन ऐसी सहमति बनना स्पर्धा करके आए लोगों में थोड़ा कठिन भी रहता है और इसलिए हम बहुमति का आसरा लेते हैं। उसके लिए स्पर्धा चलती है। ये स्पर्धा है, कोई आपस का युद्ध तो है नहीं। जिस प्रकार ये बातें हुई, जिस प्रकार एक दूसरे को लताड़ना हुआ, जिस प्रकार प्रचार के दौरान हमारे करने से समाज में मनमुटाव बढ़ेगा, दो गठ बटेंगे, आपस में शंका संशय उत्पन्न होगा, इसका भी ख्याल नहीं रखा गया और विनाकारण संघ जैसे संगठनों को भी उसमें खींचा गया। टेक्नोलॉजी का सहारा करके असत्य बातें परोसी गई, नितांत असत्य। क्या शास्त्र का, विज्ञान का, विद्या का ये उपयोग है?
What do you make of those comments? Now, he's speaking in general terms. He's not naming BJP. He's in fact saying it for all political parties, right? What do you make of it? What did you think when you were listening to that?
Well, the first thing is that the RSS leaders never speak anything directly. It is always very much nuanced, very much indirect. You have to draw your own references. That's the first thought. The second is that this speech has to be seen as part of the same thoughts which have been articulated in various forms, either wholly or partially, by Mr. Venkaiah Naidu first. Mm-hmm. He made a statement, where he talked about that this election verdict has sent a message about the importance of the necessities of the poor being taken care of. The question was, which needs to be understood, who does this verdict send a message to? Mm-hmm. Is it somebody who has performed better than what they were expected to? That is the Congress Party and the India Alliance? Or is it the message to somebody who has performed below what had been set by them as their target? I would take it that this is a message to the latter. Mr. Ram Madhav wrote an article in which he talked about humility. Whenever you talk about humility, name one character in Indian politics in whom that is missing if somebody is asked. The first name that comes up is Mr. Modi, because he is somebody who is not known to be somebody who is a humble person. Characteristically, he is a domineering figure who likes to have the others following his way or choose the highway. That is the way he's always been. The RSS leaders know it. So if Mr. Mohan Bhagwat, in the same speech, in another part of the clip, if he also talks about that a true sevak, he's not using swayam sevak. It's for you to draw the inference if you wish to. I would. So true sevak is somebody who is does not have any arrogance.
So
we come back to what Ram Madhav was saying.
Yeah, so you are quite clear that when read with Ram Madhav in his column calling for humility, Venkaiah Naidu calling for understanding the message, now Mohan Bhagwat talking about how a true sevak, a swayam sevak, can never be arrogant. This is the message, in your opinion, from the RSS to Prime Minister Modi.
Yes, I think so. And also this line, that from that particular clip where he says, talking about the two sides during an election, two viewpoints. Now, out here, we have got used in the last 10 years that only one viewpoint is correct. The other viewpoint is illegitimate. It is anti-national. He also says, Mohan Bhagwat, that he questions, or he actually says it is wrong to use them, for the opposition to use the term Virodhi. He used the word Pratipaksh. Very clear that Virodhi and Pratipaksh are completely two different words. So I think that this is a message to Mr. Modi and the BJP. And I think it's also for us to realize that we have actually not seen the relations between the RSS and the BJP and Mr. Modi coming down to this level in the Modi era, at least. I do not think that prior to this, any BJP president would have said they have their own work, we have our own work.
You're talking
We
about
do not need them.
You're talking about
JP Nadda's
JP
statement.
Nadda's comments.
JP Nadda's, yeah. So the same thing Mohan Bhagwat also says, that lots has been said about the RSS in this election. They have their different people have their different work. We have our own work. We will continue.
Yeah.
And in we have our own work, and we will continue. There is a grave, message to Mr. Modi, which has to be understood.
I want to play out another clip where Mohan Bhagwat actually talks about sehmati, the need for consensus. Again, a very, very important, statement at a time when the last parliament's expulsions and suspensions of MPs, right? It's the fact that you have several opposition leaders arrested, still in jail, by the way. And yes, we can argue with the corruption charges separately, but the opposition always points out कि हमारे ही लोग जेल में जाते हैं. I want to just play this clip, Nilanjan, and we'll discuss how we should read the RSS chief's call for sehmati and consensus.
और चुनाव प्रचार की या चुनाव में जो होता है उसकी बात ऐसी है, वास्तव में तो प्रजातंत्र की अनिवार्य आवश्यक प्रक्रिया है और उसमें दो पक्ष रहते हैं, इसलिए स्पर्धा रहती है. स्पर्धा रहती है तो दूसरे को पीछे करने का, स्वयं को आगे बढ़ाने का काम होता ही है, होना ही चाहिए. परंतु उसमें भी एक मर्यादा है, असत्य का उपयोग नहीं करना. चुने क्यों जा रहे लोग संसद में जाएंगे, बैठकर अपने देश को चलाएंगे, सहमति बनाकर चलाएंगे. हमारे यहां तो परंपरा सहमति बनाकर चलने की है. दो पक्ष है, विरोधी पक्ष कहते हैं, मैं प्रतिपक्ष कहता हूं. वो विरोधी नहीं है, उसको विरोधी मानना भी नहीं चाहिए. वो प्रतिपक्ष है, वो एक पहलू उजागर कर रहा है, उसका भी विचार होना चाहिए. ऐसा जब चलना है तो चुनाव लड़ने में भी एक मर्यादा होती है. उस मर्यादा का पालन नहीं हुआ.
उस मर्यादा का पालन नहीं हुआ. Right? And Nilanjan, you were making the point about, how he's describing the opposition. This is a very important statement. Would you go so far as to use the word rebuke? You did say that it's clearly a message for the Prime Minister, but is it a rebuke or is it a kind of warning, a kind of gentle direction, nudging of direction for the third term of the government?
Because the RSS always speaks in a very nuanced manner, I think we should also use a similar kind of a description.
Yes.
He has pointed out a disagreement with the BJP and Mr. Modi in a very polite manner. That is the way I will actually write if I am actually writing a piece on this speech and then what it means in the long term. He's calling for consensus, something which consensual politics is something that Mr. Modi has so far at least not been known to have displayed. There have been a few occasions where he's taken back some of the decisions, but only when pushed to the wall. Land acquisition and farm bills. Barring that, we do not find any other real example. So there's this entire, the Modi cult means that I say what is correct. And those who disagree with me are not with the nation, because I'm the only one who actually knows what is right for the nation and what is wrong for the nation. That is the way the discourse has been framed in the last 10 years. The number of all party meetings on issues, and among even those which have been held, what has been the tone of the government when it has actually sat down on these all party meetings? What has been the participation of the parliamentary standing committees? How many bills have been referred to them? Is parliamentary procedure actually being followed? Are opposition leaders being targeted in verbal attacks and also by various actions of the uh, investigative agencies? So there are multiple ways which we have actually seen that what all was the issue, what were the issues which were highlighted by the opposition in this particular campaign. Mr. Mohan Bhagwat, by calling for consensus, he's actually saying, he's making it very clear that there has to be two sides to a view, an issue. There has to be two viewpoints. If we have a viewpoint, the others are also entitled to have a viewpoint.
So is it a speech
Yeah.
against unilateralism? Is it a speech
Yes.
against?
Yes, I think so. That's a nice way of framing it. That yes, this has been a unilateral government and that it has always taken a decision. This is absolutely correct. And then that has not been open to any debate, discussion, and scrutiny. So it has been a very unilateral government.
Let me argue this from the other side for a moment, from the BJP side. The BJP would argue that Mr. Modi has delivered like no other prime minister on the RSS's, the issues that are dearest to the RSS. 370 being the top of the list. Ram Mandir came from the Supreme Court, but there will still be some political ownership that will be made by Modi, even though it had no electoral consequences, as we now know in this election. He has moved forward on uniform civil code. Some states have moved forward and so on. The last point is Modi still remains the BJP's best ticket to power. Can the RSS afford to rap Modi on the knuckles?
I think the RSS has always a very long-term view. The RSS is not looking only at the Modi era and after that what? Their approach is actually, if anybody is actually looking at 2047, I would say it is the RSS, not Mr. Modi. He's not going to be around in 2047 for all practical purposes, unless there is some, actually a miracle and, anyway. So I think, as part of its long-term view, it is of the view that lot of what this government has not done and lot of what it has done are not properly balanced. That there needs to be some, needs to be a course correction. During the campaign, I was speaking to some very senior RSS leaders and we were having an informal conversation, not writing anything, definitely not identifying the person.
Yeah.
So I made the point, that what is the real problem with Modi ji? After all, he's done everything what has been your core agenda. Ram Mandir, half UCC already done, 370 done. What more? What more? Mathura Kashi on way, virtually just after the elections. There can be all kinds of judicial developments. So this gentleman smiled that you have written on the Sangh Parivar for several years and decades. He says, याद करिए उन चीजों को जो 1990 के दशक में शुरुआत में हो रहा था जब हम लोगों ने वामपंथ के साथ स्वदेशी जागरण मंच को शुरू किया था. हिंदुत्व का मतलब, I was a bit perplexed at why is he suddenly talking about स्वदेशी जागरण मंच. He said हिंदुत्व का मतलब सिर्फ मंदिर मंदिर करना नहीं है. Not just these issues. It also means egalitarian politics. बोलते अगर आप दीनदयाल उपाध्याय को अंत्योदय, उनका फिलॉसफी अंत्योदय को अपने पार्टी, अपने सरकार का बिल्कुल फिलॉसफिकल गाइड बुक मानते हैं, then why is not those objectives being reflected in what this government is doing, promoting egalitarianism? Why does the Prime Minister say, this specific question came up that one interviewer asked in the series of interviews which Mr. Modi gave, that the disparity between the richest and poor, and Mr. Modi very funnily replied that to kya kare ki, should we all have, or everybody becomes poor. So this gentleman, from the RSS said, that this is not the way to respond. You have to have respect for the poor. Venkaiah Naidu statement also talking about the poor. Now tell me, how many times has actually any of the BJP leaders in the course of this, post verdict discussions have talked about that, yes, there might have been a bit of shortfall because we did not deliver as far as the poor is concerned, that there are large issues which is actually bothering them. So I think that, there's another thought which came to my mind when Mr. Mohan Bhagwat said that we have our work, they have their work. Now, the RSS work is also to ensure that every affiliate has their autonomy to act on their own, look after that organization's interest, irrespective of the other organizations. What has happened in the last 10 years? That the RSS has acted as a kind of a, reining in the other affiliates. BMS not allowed to launch any protests. The Kisan Sangh, take it easy, no creating problems for the Modi government, ye apni sarkar hai. Vidyarthi Parishad, Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, has it launched any agitations in the last few years which have major national repercussions? No. The teachers' body? No. That way we can go on listing. Sangh Parivar is, after all, at least 40 major organizations in various walks of life. If each of these, or even a handful of these, think that we must now actually work within the competitive sphere that we are in. The Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh is within a very competitive sphere with the INTUC, with the C2 and other trade unions. Likewise, in the farm sector, there are other very powerful farmers organizations. Should not the RSS affiliated organizations try to protect their territory? If they do, they will have to possibly criticize, question, seek a wider debate or discussion on some of the government policies. If that is done, would then this government, brand them as anti-nationals as they have been doing? So there are these kind of questions which I think, with this speech of Mr. Mohan Bhagwat, I would say that it is necessary for Mr. Modi to take a deep thought and go and spend some time with the RSS. It cannot function. It cannot function with the kind of hostility which is inherent in Mr. Mohan Bhagwat's speech. I'm saying there is a inherent hostility. He doesn't say it because they speak in nuances, but it is known to everybody.
So you do feel a hostility, not just a mild rebuke, but a hostility.
Yes. And this is further down, in the lower cadre. Why didn't the RSS leaders, the workers, come out in most places to come and campaign for the BJP candidates this time? Why is it that the most important feature of the BJP's electoral campaign in every election, that is the door-to-door campaign, was missing in large parts of India?
I do want to talk about one other point made by Mohan Bhagwat. He reminded India that Manipur is still injured, right? And Manipur has almost fallen off the national headlines. It barely even made them there, shamefully. But Mohan Bhagwat is saying, fix this, prioritize this. The BJP has lost 2 of the seats there in Manipur, but it's still a Biren Singh BJP-led state government, right? Now, again, not to politicize Manipur, it's a very deep and complex problem. But how did you see Mohan Bhagwat's comments on Manipur?
Since Manipur became a major national issue, the only people who talked about the necessity for the government to, as quickly as they can, to resolve the conflict in Manipur have been people who have been labeled as being part of the opposition, people of the anti-national lobby. I would like to know that would Mr. Modi now brand the RSS and Mohan Bhagwat also in the same category? I think it is a very big thing that he's referring to Manipur. The RSS has a very steady presence in the Northeast. It has worked in the Northeast for decades. Right from 1980s, during the Assam movement, the RSS was in the thick of things. This entire argument, which actually eventually led to the philosophy behind the CAA, NRC, all that the Hindus cannot be put, unitedly with the non-Hindu refugees coming into Assam. Hindu refugees into Assam, I'm sorry, Mr. Deoras, Bala Saheb Deoras, when he was a Satsang Chalak, said that the Hindu refugees have to be looked at from a different prism. And that is what is eventually the philosophy behind CAA and eventually if NRC becomes. So I think it is very clear that by talking about resolving the issue in Manipur, he is actually, this is actually, being rebuking in public in a way, it can be said.
Yeah. Now, you have written, I think, in the Quint that this is going to be a new BJP. But everything will depend on who the new BJP president is, right? You've also said
That's right.
You've also said that Mr. Bittu getting sworn in marks another milestone. This is your article in Quint in the BJP RSS divorce. Let's first start with Bittu, and then we'll come to the BJP president. Go ahead.
On Bittu, I refer to the dramatic developments in 1998 in March, when Mr. Vajpayee got 182 seats for the first time and was in the process of forming the government after all the, coalition partners.
I just want to correct myself. That article was from the Federal.
From the Federal.
Sorry.
From the Federal. That's right.
Go ahead. Yes.
So all parties agreed, and NDA was formally constituted at that time. And just the night before the swearing in, next morning was the swearing in, the RSS learned that among the people who were being taken into the ministry was Pramod Mahajan and Jaswant Singh. Close to midnight, Mr. K. Sudarshan, who was then the General Secretary of the RSS, Raju Bhaiya Rajendra Singh, was the Satsang Chalak at that time. Satsang Chalak asked K. Sudarshan to go and meet Mr. Vajpayee and stop this. So they came and said that anybody who has lost the Lok Sabha election principally should not be made a minister. We learned at that time that K. Sudarshan conveyed the message that Raju Bhaiya has said that we will not have a problem once you make the two of them members of parliament. लेकिन हारे हुए व्यक्ति को मंत्री नहीं बनाना चाहिए. It is against the principles of democratic functioning and also not ethically correct. Eventually, Pramod Mahajan was made an advisor in the Prime Minister's office, and Jaswant Singh was made the Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission. Within a few months, both were made members of the Rajya Sabha, and they were brought into the ministry, and they functioned as ministers. I think this is very important to recall at this point. Ravneet Singh Bittu lost from Ludhiana. There was another problem with him, that he had been a Congress person for almost 3 decades in his life. He was obviously the grandson of Behan Singh, the Punjab Congress leader, who was the chief minister, who was assassinated.
Yeah.
Bittu was a 3-term Congress MP in the Lok Sabha. In March, by when possibly the elections had almost been announced, he crossed over to the BJP, becoming one of the 1/3 of candidates of the BJP who were defectors to the BJP from other parties. An issue which has actually created a lot of problems is, in fact, one of the factors behind the poor showing of the BJP. They will realize it once they do, if and when they do a detailed review is concerned. The BJP requires a minister from Punjab.
Yeah.
They do not have one at the moment. Yes, Bittu has a certain track record in which he can be a counter force to the 6 separatists. There is an issue, there is a problem that it should not raise its head in India. It should not. I have no problems with the major role being earmarked for Bittu. Why make him a minister right away? You in any case have to make him a Rajya Sabha member, or get him to fight a Lok Sabha election by creating a vacancy from some state where he is sure to win, say maybe Gujarat. But you are not going to do that. You're going to possibly make him a Rajya Sabha member from some state or the other where the BJP has legislative strength. Till that time, some other position could have been found. Pramod Mahajan, after all, kept on advising Mr. Vajpayee just as he would have done as the minister.
Yeah.
So the same thing, has to be understood that it should have been followed here. It has not been done.
Let me end by asking you about what you meant by saying that we are going to be looking not at a new India, but a new BJP. That was another one of your columns. How might this BJP be different? Because again, now let's take you back to the Modi cabinet. For anybody who thought that there would be big changes in the cabinet, that didn't happen. As you mentioned, Modi has tripled down on the fact that he will remain the key figure of authority, at least for now, unless the allies, it all now depends on Nitish Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu. But the BJP has to make a choice for its president. Will the RSS have a say in who that leader will be? I think is the operative question.
No, I don't think that the RSS will say anything. Even if anybody goes to the RSS with a name, I am sure that they would be told by the RSS that आप लोगों का काम आप लोग संभालिए, हमें क्यों बोलते हैं? They are quite known to be saying, reacting like that.
Okay.
And as far as the new BJP is concerned, I think yesterday's portfolio allocation makes it clear that there possibly is not going to be the dawn of a new BJP.
Exactly.
They will possibly be the old BJP.
Exactly.
So I had said that if Mr. Modi wants to leave his past behind, then he'll have to be a new Mr. Modi. A new Mr. Modi, a new BJP, as all that would have required to run it, in a stabilized manner. But Mr. Modi at the moment has chosen to be what he was. He's chosen his cabinet to be what it was. They have gone back to the same. It's like, a child clearing one class and going to the next one. You invariably go and sit on the same seat because the classrooms have the same layout.
Yes.
So this is what they have all gone on the same seats, barring the new ones who have taken a transfer from the other school, TC leke jo aaye. So that is what it is going to be. And if it is that, then there's no question of a new BJP. And then it is really not very important because all the senior leaders of the BJP have been inducted into the government, who could have actually been a countervailing voice, a Gadkari, a Shivraj Singh Chauhan, even a Rajnath Singh. They could have been left out for the party if you really wanted to strengthen the party.
Yeah.
But Mr. Modi has gone to what I used to call as the Congress model of government ruling party relationship. The Congress party during the time Indira Gandhi onwards did not have any Congress party separate of the government. In the CPM model, the party used to become the government.
Yeah.
Here in the BJP, it is once again the government which is going to be the party. The party's job is only to publicize what the government is doing, not to decide on policies. All that is the domain of Mr. Modi. And of course, to select tightly knit team of officials, the PMO.
Well, clearly then, the allies have allowed, at least for the moment, for this to be a Modi government and not an NDA government, effectively.
That's right. That is what it is at the moment, it looks like. They have accepted not very politically important portfolios, and they have allowed Mr. Modi to continue with the same team, not even make a symbolic change to show that there is realization that we got to make some alterations because we have fewer seats. So this is the same Modi with a fewer seats, that too not in the majority.
Yeah.
The challenge is going to be not functioning in this manner. You will function because you sorted out the allies. You have not been able to sort out the Sangh Parivar. There is a major problem lurking there for Mr. Modi. This is what I think.
So you think the challenge, everybody thought the challenge would come from the allies. You're saying the fishes are more within the Sangh than with the allies.
That's right. And then once it becomes grows beyond a certain point, it will start coming out within the party also, within the BJP. We know that there is a voice which says that the party didn't follow the procedure of having a parliamentary board meeting to formally nominate Mr. Modi, nominate, not even elect, to nominate him as the leader of the BJP's parliamentary party. There was no parliamentary party meeting. They all had everybody present, including the UP Chief Minister, which was called the NDA Parliamentary Party meeting, where he was formally elected as the leader of the NDA Parliamentary Party. So the procedures have been eliminated, something that for which the BJP used to take pride in, that we have a collegial style of functioning. जो भी करते हैं साथ बैठ के चर्चा करते हैं. Where is the charcha within the BJP? It happens behind closed doors. That is everybody known. But here it is happening only between a few people.
What would you be looking out for in the next 6 months? I guess the time for looking at how this plays out is the next set of assembly elections.
Well, the next assembly elections are not going to be very good news for Mr. Modi, because Maharashtra is going to go, drift more towards away from the BJP. That is what I feel. Haryana, I think the performance was quite bad. And in Jharkhand, I do not think that the BJP would be able to perform as well as it did in the parliamentary elections. So I think it is going to be quite bad news for that, for the BJP and Mr. Modi. And next year, you have Delhi and you have Bihar. Too early to say what it will be, how it will roll out at that time. A lot would depend also on where exactly is Arvind Kejriwal, how much of trouble has been created for the Aam Aadmi Party, whether there is still a democratically elected government when the elections are held or not. All these things have to be seen, and the elections would depend to a great extent on that.
Well, we leave it there. Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, biographer of a book on Narendra Modi, along with many other books on the politics of the RSS and the Sangh Parivar. Always a pleasure. I think you have enough material for your next book, Nilanjan, and looking forward to that one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Barkha.
Thank you. And that is it on this edition of our program. See you tomorrow with another brand new program with more analysis on this very, very interesting election that has just ended and a new government is now in place.
We're at the Indian mainland's southernmost tip in Kanyakumari, the confluence of the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. It is from here that we are beginning our big road trip to the heart and the soul of India, Havas of democracy. That's all about traveling thousands of kilometers to look at the food, the fun, the festivity, the flavors of this election, but also, of course, to tell the stories of you the people, of we the people. At Mojo Story, we have always gone to where the story is. It could be the battlefields of Israel and Gaza, it could be the conflict zone of Manipur, or it could be the sorrow and the tragedy of COVID. We think of all of you as members of our community, of our family. So, I'm urging you and requesting you today to help us tell your stories and our stories. So do become a Mojo member. Support and power our storytelling, but also get first access to our big interviews, our special ground reports, our town halls, and also have the opportunity to ask our newsmakers questions directly, as well as get published on our platform. Become a Mojo member, click on the link below, and see you soon.